بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم. Today was our second last class around Surah Ali Imran. Next week we will inshallah ta'ala complete it, and this will be our last section around grammar. I just wanted to wrap up a few things about the verb as we sort of promised earlier, and then inshallah ta'ala next week we will finish the remaining verses and we'll complete it. And again, I would like to thank everybody who has been patient and encourage you to do the same thing. It's very important to whatever act of worship we start, we shall try to be patient and steadfast, and then keep doing it. And it's very important, especially today. A lot of people have a lot of distractions, lack of focus. You take one thing here and the other thing there, and you don't see a lot of persistence. And I do see a lot of factor challenges with online classes because you are doing it either live or you're doing it in your own time. So you to basically follow your schedule with discipline and making sure that you make progress. Those who have done that, congratulations. May Allah reward you. This is really something good and it deserves praise after the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you show that sort of patience and persistence. And I would encourage you to do the same with whatever other projects you are involved in. Barakallahu feekum. Today we will basically be talking about the verbs. And okay, so let me start with this file. So this is a chart, interestingly, I found from understandquran.com. I had it like from quite a while back. I know they've done a lot of revision to their material, but inshallah, this will be a good thing for review. And you have it in your, on the course website as well. So this is what's known as the name of this file, as you will see on the course website, is something called Summarized Forms Related to the Doer. Okay, it's a grammar poster. I think you have a black and white copy up on the course website. Basically, if you look at it, let me just kind of walk you through it so then you can, take a review of it at your own convenience. So here, I'm also going to zoom it a bit. So when I do that, it might be problematic for those who are watching live, but in the recording, I think it's beneficial, so I'm doing that. Here, what you see is basically, your pronouns, right? And these are the attached pronouns form. It's a good review, right? This is all for second person. Then you have for second persons, right? Separate pronouns and attached pronouns. It's a good review, good summary there. We talked about this. And then you have it for your first person. Okay. All right. And then you have these verbs, right? You can see that now this is talking about past tense, fi'l madi, right? And the root letters are fa, ain, lam. So basically, in this form, you can see that for the third person, how it's changing the ending, right? Similarly for the second person and for the first person. Basically, what this picture is showing you is that think of it as a vehicle or a transportation mechanism, and by looking at the tail, you are distinguishing between things, right? So here, they've given you the different tails because the end tells you, something about it, right? So here, for example, the ending is alif. Here, the ending is vav. The ending is ta. The ending is tuma. The ending is tum. The ending is tu. And the ending is na. So this is telling you something about the doer. Is it the third person, second person, first person? Is it singular, plural, or dual? So that's that. Here you have present tense, right? So present tense, you have two things. One is you have something attached to it and something following it. So here you see you have a ya attached and malnun following. Here you have a ta. and here you have a waw, noon, and ta, right? So here you have af'alu and naf'alu. So here basically it's a combination, right? So the beginning ones is actually telling you is it second person, first person, or third person, right? The ya, ta, alif, and noon. And the ending is just telling you about singular or plural or dual. So that's how you get some information when you're reading Quran. Now, it's another chart, quick box here about how the order comes, right? So instead of fa'ala, the order would be if'al, if'alu, and prohibition would be la taf'al, la taf'alu. So this is all that we talked about earlier. Now, this is something new that's I'm going to mention now, and that is that, from this you can also make other nouns. So, from the word fa'ala, the verb fa'ala, fa'il is the one who does an action. Fa'il is the one who does an action. For example, khalaqa, khalaqa, create. He created is known as khalaqa. So the fa'il form from khalaqa is khaliqu. Khaliqu. Khaliq means the ones who create, the one who creates. And maf'ul is the one whom the action is done upon. Whom the action is done upon. So here, for example, from the example, خلق مخلوق. مخلوق would be the one who is created. خلق, he created. خالق, the creator. And مخلوق is the creation. And then in the second and the third row, they have given you how to make dual and plural from this. And this is the passive voice. So even in today's lecture, remember, we are talking about passive. Let me just quickly put it up for you. I think it was here, right? So this is there. Example of passive. كذب. كذب. So this is giving you that example. And that's all we wanted to talk about for a review. So this gives us a review about verbs and pronouns and how different things are denoted. So for that, we'll close this with that. Okay. And now there's another chart that I've included, and it's called Summarize Babs and Khulafi Mujarrad. And it's like a name, but I mean, we won't go into that sort of detail. But let's see, this is pretty interesting as well. So here you have two charts. So this one is talking about, your regular triliteral words. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in and actually, before zooming in, look, I want to point two things out. Especially this one. Look at these. Actually, so there is a kasra here, right? So you have sami'a and fataha and nasara and daraba. Okay, so this four, for example, right now. Let's take a look at these. Now, what's the difference here? Remember, we talked about when we were talking about the past tense that usually it's like fa'ala, fa'ala. That's how we typically take when we are, forming tables. Not every past tense verb has to be like that. So this one, like fataha, nasara, and daraba, we see that they are, all are fatha, fatha, fatha. But this one is the second letter has a kasra. Okay, so these are the four most common examples. Okay, and there are others that we talked about in detail when we were doing that section. If you're looking at the recordings, you can go up and then you can see previous topics on that. But this is what you see most. Now, what's the difference between these three? If you look at their present tense, the fataha is what? Yafhu. Yafhu. The second letter has a fatha in the present tense as well. And nasara is yamsuru. So the second letter has a dhamma. And daraba is yadribu. The second letter has a kasra. So that's the difference between these three. Although the present tense, although the past tense are all same, fatha, 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 the haraka on the second letter differs in the present tense. So here it is yafhu. So the second letter has a fatha here. Yanhu. Second letter has a dhamma. Yadri. Second letter has a kasra. So that's the difference. And the rest of the thing is basically telling you. Remember, we just talked about fa'il and maf'ul. It's telling you fatih, maftuh, nasir, mansur, darib, madrub, right? So the doer and the object. And if you look here, it gives you other verbs that follow the same pattern. So let me zoom in. So basically, it's showing you that all these verbs, for example, hafiza and jahila, all they follow like this. So hafiza, yahfadu, right? So this comes with practice, right? How do you know if some verbs belong to this family or this family or this family? But remember, for our purpose, the way we are doing this course is that we are usually reading, right? So we don't have to worry about that because in Quran we would already see the correct form, and with practice we would know that which one is what. Okay. Now, what about the rest of these boxes? What's special about them? What's special about them is that remember, you have three letters, fa, ain, lam. So in this case, one of those three letters is what is known as huruf illa. Huruf illa are hamza, waw, or ya. For example, here, the first root letter is waw, so it's a huruf illa, it's a weak letter. And it changes, right? So, for example, look, wajada yajidu. Right? So it is not following the same pattern as these guys. Because sometime you would see a vowel changing to a ya or a ya changing to an alif and things like that. So that's why they are a bit special. So they're here for reference. We won't be like covering each of them, but you would see that when the verb contains a root letter that is weak, that is either hamza, waw, or ya, then the formation rulings are a bit different. They are a bit different. And it's here for your reference. And the special thing about Bolla is that although it does not have a weak letter, it has something. What is the second and the third root letters are same. So it's a bit different as well. Now there's another thing, and that is here. Remember, we have been talking about something that we were calling form four. Something that we're calling form four. So we have it here. Derived form four. Okay, and this is derived from we saw this today, right? Remember in I'll show you 1 second, and then we have istafala. So these are the three ones that we will talk about mostly because we have seen this used a lot. We've talked about it. Okay, so here is basically giving you that how it looks, right? So I'm going to give you an example right now. Bear with me for a second. Okay. So remember what we have talked about earlier about nazala and anzala. Remember nazala and anzala, kharaja and akhraja. We have talked about this before many times. For example, nazala means that you are coming down, right? He came down. Nazala, he came down. Anzala, he caused somebody else to come down. So he sent somebody down. That is anzala. Similarly, kharaja is to exit. He exited is kharaja. Akhraja is to cause somebody else to exit. Okay, I'm going to zoom in here and I'm going to show you something about this, and then we will look at this topic from a different angle. Okay, so look, fa'ala, he did something. Fa'ala, he did something. So here you just have the three root letters. In the form 4, you have a hamza added to it. Now this hamza is part of the past tense form, whereas, right? So here you don't have the hamza, but it is part of it, right? And you have examples like akhraja, ahsana, ashraka, aslaha, anzala, amata, ahya, ara, amana, ata, arsala, aslama, arada, all these things. And this is showing you like af'ala yaf'alu. Here it is af'ala yuf'ilu. Yuf'ilu. And to make it in the the order form, you make it like this, af'al. So these are all here for your references. Similarly, for the second form, you have fa'ala, when you basically double the second root letter. These are the forms associated with it. And here what you have is basically you have ain lam, but you have alif sin ta added to it. And it has many meanings. One of that is basically to seek something, to seek something. And we saw this form, for example, in إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Nasta'in. Seen is for seeking. This is form number 10. Another way of looking at it, is this chart that I've added. This is from corpus, the Quran.com. Might have some errors, but I think it's a good explanation. So this is available on the course portal. It's talking about that, typically it's fa, ain, lam. Fa, ain, lam. And in the derived form, you can have, things added, like something before fa, something in between the first and the second letter, something in between the second and the third root letter, and something at the end. And then they give you all the examples, right? So this is your fa'ala regular form. They give you examples in the Quran. They indicate the verse number and the surah number. And this is like form 2, right? Fa'ala. Here they tell you, what is this form used for? So this is a bit detailed than what we want to do, but it gives you a general overview. Look, alima, for example, is to learn. Alima, he learned. Now, allama, he causes somebody else to learn. He causes somebody else to learn, and it becomes allama, which means to teach. It also has another meaning. It has another benefit to it, which is of intensifying an action. Intensifying an action. So here, for example, the action of ghallaq, to close. So with ghallaq, it intensifies. That he carefully closed everything and closed it properly. Bolted it and things like that, right? And then he talks about here of other forms that if you're interested in going into detail, you could. Form 4 is interesting to us, right? So that's there, and we have already talked about the form 4 in great detail. And then it mentions all the other forms, gives you examples from the Quran. And the last one that we want to talk about is istaf'ala form. And one of the notion of istaf'ala form is to seek, right? That you seek something from someone. So for example, wastaghfir, that you're seeking the forgiveness. You're seeking the forgiveness. And those who wants to get more detail, he also talks about the 4-letter forms as well. He touches on that as well. But that's how I wanted to keep it, right? So that you have some more resources as reference to look at. And I think in general, corpus.quran.com is a good site to take a look at when you're reading Quran and you want to get some sort of understanding of which form it is and things like that. So if you don't have any questions, then we will inshallah ta'ala end it here, and I hope to see you next week, and we will complete Surah Ali Imran. And obviously, you can sign up, and anybody who wants to sign up for the course, they can, so go on IOU's website and sign up for that course. If you're looking at the recording, you probably would see a link somewhere on that page, how to sign up, and then you can go and catch up with the recordings on your own time, at your own discipline, if you're interested to do so. So inshallah, let's wrap up the class here. If you have any questions, you're welcome to send me an email, and we can follow up from there. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by His fadl and His rahmah have mercy on all of us, make us from the people of Quran, help us to understand the Quran, to read it daily, to take lessons from it, and to really make Quran a part of our life in reading, learning, and in our actions and in our akhlaq. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us all. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم اجعلنا من أهل القرآن الذين هم أهلك وخاصتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. وجزاكم الله خير وبارك الله فيكم وصلى الله تعالى على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. What uncompleted sections? Oh, yes, I think, yeah, you will have access to the course. I don't think the material will be taken away. So, as especially the people who have registered, they would have access to it. I don't think I'm not aware of that. They will be removing the material, so you'll have access to it, inshallah. I don't know. Maybe they will remove it like after 6 months, 1 year, or something. I don't know. But inshallah, you'll have sufficient time for it. And even if they remove it, I'm sure that if you contact them, they will make arrangements for you to have access to the material. I don't think they will remove it though, inshallah. But yeah, I think it just comes down to your own discipline, to make sure that I understand that people get busy from various times in the year. You might have other exams going on, but you make your own goals and deadlines, and then bismillah ta'ala, with your discipline, you catch it up bismillah. Okay, it was great to have you guys all here, and inshallah ta'ala we'll wrap up next week. Barakallahu fikum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.